So, what does the BBC have to say about why did the US and UK carry out strikes on the Houthis?
In the Red Sea and Yemen. This is American and British air.
If war broke out between the USA and his allies and Iran and his allies, where would you move to? Beijing. White monkey time. Straight up. I would be like, you know the guy who's like the son of Hamas that always goes on like Western media and is like, Hamas is ISIS. My father is ISIS. Like, you know that guy? I would be that guy in China for America. Okay? I'd be like, I would be that guy, but against America in China.
Airstrikes on Houthi targets.
I'd be the Yami Park. Yeah, I'd be the Yami Park of America, but in China.
In Yemen. Houthis say UK and US would pay a heavy price for these attacks. Attacks also being criticised by Russia, Turkey and Iran. Well, this footage that we're going to look at now is from one of the UK RAF strikes from the air that you can see there. 4 Royal Air Force Typhoon fighter jets took part in the raids, along with US Navy jets. The British Prime Minister called the strikes necessary and proportionate.
So you wouldn't be lying? So it's not really the same? No, I would lie. I'd be like, in America, they eat babies. They do abortions. And that's like, and then they eat the babies. And then the president eats the spinal fluid of the baby. And then the baby says, don't eat me. And if the baby actually pushes back during the abortion process, like, then it's a more powerful spinal fluid. Like, stuff like, I would be Yami Park. Like, I would greatly exaggerate things that are going on. You know? Yeah, I'd just be QAnon. I'd be doing QAnon stuff.
And the US says Houthi command and control centres, munitions depots, launching systems, production facilities and air defence.
Channel 4's report on all this is better than anyone else's, in my opinion. Well, Channel 4 is always better than everybody else's reporting in the UK. They're single-handedly carrying journalism in the UK, it seems, aside from like Navarre Media and shit. Lie to them and tell Americans don't have health care. Oh, wait, that's true. Yeah. I mean, if I wasn't going to lie and I was going to do a Yami Park describing like America, I would tell them that like in America, the government cares less about genocide and more about shipping delays. So sometimes when America is helping do a genocide in another country and another country, it says, no, don't do that genocide. We have to stop you. And they engage in shipping delays, America goes and helps do more genocide in the country that's trying to stop the genocide. I'd be like, Americans have so much reverence for their dear leader. They're so stupid that they sometimes will celebrate not being able to have health care that the rest of the world has by pointing to why they don't have health care. All of the guns that go and kill people overseas. Americans are so stupid that they say no to concepts like, you know, cheap public transit or public schooling in general. Americans are so dumb, they hate school. They hate school so much that they literally want to abolish schooling in general. They're literally what libs do. I can't? What do you mean? Yeah, I mean, these aren't lies. I'm saying, like, I could describe positions that are happening in America about, yeah, sometimes when there's shipping delays, we have to push the ships. Yeah. Do politicians defund schools? What? That's not true. 60 to 70% of Americans want social programs. I don't know.
Necessary and proportionate. Significant, but targeted. That's how the UK and US have described these missile strikes on Yemen. While at pains to emphasise, this is action, but not escalation.
I think the whole line of we are going to show them why we don't have healthcare is just a pathetic attempt at dark humor while still criticizing. No, that's what it started off as. It was literally a way to joke about how, like, America cares more about, like, aircraft carriers than healthcare for its own citizens. That's how it started. Now people are unironically riding for it. The amount of unironic videos of aircraft carriers with, like, music playing in the background of, like, Yemen gonna learn today is so sad. So many of the NATO Andes are the exact same as the neocon hogs of the past. Straight up. Straight up. They're like, dude, fuck around and find out. And it's like, what do you think? Like, do you think the people of Yemen don't realize that the largest military superpower on the planet has the capacity to kill a shit ton of their people? Like, what do you think was happening in Yemen until, like, a couple years ago? Like, the idea that it's a fuck around and find out situation is so stupid. It's like, it's the same principle behind Palestinians and Hamas. You know what I mean? Like, you think the Palestinians don't know? Do you think the people living in Gaza don't know what Israel's gonna do? It's so stupid. You have to be a total idiot. I mean, you also have to just completely have no moral framework. You have to just banish yourself. You have to cast aside any morality to look at a situation like this and be like, that's right, baby. Stars and bars. We're wiping out that godless Muslim country. Sick.
For weeks now, Houthi rebels have targeted container ships in the Red Sea. Last night came the response. A US-led and coordinated mission. Dozens of American jets, more than 60 targets struck in 16 locations. Houthi command centers, munitions depots and air defense systems in Yemen, says the US government.
This white monkey dude does what you say. I timestamped the part where he describes America with scary music.
4 British Typhoons.
Love that.
We carried out a series of strikes together with allies.
You have to have fully dedicated yourself to white supremacy. No, these goons don't even realize American chauvinism is obviously inherently white supremacist, but they don't recognize that. A lot of liberals don't recognize that they are absolutely engaging in the same exact white supremacist narratives, okay, that Republicans engage in when it comes to foreign policy, okay? They're just blinded by it. They're blinded by it. Like they're blinded by the top of the Arab rate. Like, they don't know what's happening. What? Some spam I got from Hyundai is the MLK24 coupon code. That's awesome. That's great. Anyway, here's a 3-minute ad break now, boys. Get it while it's hot. Get those subscriptions.
Raid.
Wrong one.
Which will, we believe, degrade and disrupt the capability. The types of things that we've targeted are launch sites for missiles and for drones. Initial indications are that those strikes have been successful. We'll continue to monitor the situation, but it's clear that this type of behaviour can't be met without a response. We need to send a strong signal that this breach of international law is wrong. People can't act like this with impunity, and that's why, together with allies, we've decided to take this action.
Yemen is not the conflict Rishi Sunak intended talking about today. The Prime Minister landed in Kyiv this morning to announce £2.5 billion of funding. But before heading to Ukraine,
so cooked.
Airstrikes.
So cooked. Bro, Zelensky is so cucked, dude. Utterly, unimaginably cucked. God damn, son. Imagine thinking that you have full-blown, unconditional support of the West with unlimited funding. Okay, dumb bombs, smart bombs, all of it. okay? They keep telling you over and over again, dog, you are going to purge the Russians, okay? Oh my God, keep doing it. Keep doing it, King. There's a moment in time when you're like, okay, we push back a little bit, okay? Maybe we sit at the ceasefire negotiations process. Maybe we try to figure some shit out. America's like, no, dog, you don't have to do that. We got endless money for you, homie. We have the money faucet. Keep giving you all the guns. We keep giving you all the weapons. Also, privatize, all the remaining state institutions for me, please. Okay, pretty cool. All right, that's great too. But also remember, we got you. We got you, homie. We got you. Please keep it going. We're with you all the way. Oh, do you want a no-fly zone over Ukraine? We can't do that. Obviously, that'd be World War III. Come on. That's not going to happen. But we got you. Keep fighting. Keep throwing more human beings in the fucking grinder. Okay? And now, all of a sudden, Israel, which ironically has been a, fair weather fan anyway of Ukraine from the jump, turns around and does his own little ethnic cleansing campaign, and the rest of the world forgets about Ukraine. Like Rishi Sunak is supposed to be doing this Ukraine tour, and he's still talking about Israel. If I'm Zelensky, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Putin gets to dance around like he's like some wonderful peace-loving dove. This is a lot of speculation. Wait, what? Speculation? What did I just speculate on? What did I speculate on? I didn't say anything about I didn't speculate on anything. I'm talking about specifically what's going on with the Western world leaving Ukraine behind. Which is real. That's what's happening. Chad is about to cut 3-4 hours videos on your life.
Since November, Houthi rebels in Yemen have launched 27 attacks on commercial ships travelling through the Red Sea. This is a vital artery for global trade. Nearly 15% of all seaborne trade passes through here and onto the Suez Canal. These attacks have forced ships to reroute all the way around southern Africa, adding 2 weeks to journey times and $1 million to the cost. These audacious attacks have grown in number and scale since November. And this is believed to be the tipping point. A Royal Navy ship shooting down 7 drones overnight on Tuesday. But while the US and UK talk only of trade, for the Iranian-backed Houthis, what ends in the Red Sea begins in Gaza. These attacks on Yemen were part of the American-British support for the continuation of the Israeli crime in Gaza, says a Houthi military spokesman, adding, it will not go unanswered or unpunished.
Is so
for the man who used to advise prime ministers in times like
something that a chatter brought up was very interesting to me, and was actually a really good take, is that like everybody that says like, oh dude, these guys are doing piracy, how dare you defend pirates, not realizing my position on piracy in general because I love One Piece, like they have no alternative as to why the Houthi actions started in the Red Sea to begin with. Like, what is it? You think it's you think they're making out like bandits here? Taking over a couple like mostly empty container ships? Like, what are they making money? Where are they fencing it off to? Like, what is the real reason then? They're just doing it because they hate Jewish people. That's why they're doing it.
Like this, the airstrikes were inevitable.
I think anything less than this would have been seen as a pinprick and would have been shrugged off. It had to be quite large and quite widespread for the Houthis to get the message, this is serious. It isn't just a gesture.
But is there not a risk of escalation now?
I do not think it's going to bring Iran in. Iran does not want a direct confrontation with the Americans. They're happy their proxies should be poking up the West and burnishing their credentials. So I don't think that this is we're not on the verge of a wider war, in my view.
The Houthis say 5 of their fighters were killed last night and 6 wounded. The US President Joe Biden says he will not hesitate to direct further measures to protect his people and the free flow of international commerce as necessary.
Look, no Prime Minister takes action like this lightly. And of course, this is Rishi Sunak's first time that he's authorised military intervention since becoming Prime Minister. And he's done it without talking to Parliament first. There is a precedent for that. Theresa May did the same before airstrikes.
Why did the UK join in? Wouldn't it just be the most advantageous to pin the blame on action on USA? What do you mean? Who's the horniest little lapdog for American imperialism out there? Like, it's not just Israel. UK's the worst, bro.
In Syria, but he has been criticised by other parliamentary parties. The SNP, the Liberal Democrats, all saying they want Parliament to have their say. There are even calls at one point for possibly a retrospective vote. That's not going to happen. And the one person who has given Rishi Sunak his full-throated support is Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, saying that this was right and proportionate. He did say, though, they would like to hear from...
So messed up that UK Labour is identical. They used to call Tony Blair America's poodle. UK Labour is identical to the Democratic Party. Just so bad. So bad. The UK is completely captured.
The Prime Minister at the earliest opportunity. I've been told by the Prime Minister's spokesperson that should happen on Monday. But ultimately, the Prime Minister says, look, this was limited, necessary and proportionate action in self-defence.
But are they suggesting this was a one-off, or could there be more?
Well, the government certainly hopes this will be a one-off. The one factor in that could be a decider is what the Houthis do now. But all in, what you've seen today is pretty much all the UK and the US can do. There is no appetite for boots on the ground. So if more attacks continue, we can expect more airstrikes. But there's no appetite for boots on the ground, especially not in an election year for both.
Wow. Oh, thank God, dude. They're so restrained. They're so restrained that they're not, like, violently invading Yemen.
The US and the UK. And just give us some idea of the costs involved with this. That attack that we showed you from Tuesday, those Shahed drones that are donated by Iran are worth $20,000. The missiles that shot them out of the sky are worth more than £1 million. Lengthy wars are expensive.
Paul McNamara in Downing Street. Well, the Houthi rebels weren't exactly
phenomenal
a household
ROI
name outside the region before all this. When it comes to concerns about an escalation of the Gaza war, much of the focus has been on Hezbollah in Lebanon, or indeed Iran itself, which backs both groups and leads the so-called axis of resistance, an anti-Western coalition. One Houthi leader claimed today all this heralds a long-term battle that will change the direction of the region and of the world. Here's our foreign affairs correspondent, Sikandar Kamai.
Anger and defiance on the streets of Sana'a today. A huge crowd of Houthi supporters burn an American.
I think the axis is not a wrong term here. Like, people get caught up in that, but no, the axis of resistance is, like, perfectly valid.
An Israeli flag. Many here are uncowed by the airstrikes overnight.
Guys, they have First Amendment laws out there.
And want to see their own forces respond.
Yeah, they do. They do call themselves.
They come to our seas to strike us because we stood with Gaza. The sea is our sea and the land is our land, says this man. The Houthis released this footage late last year of their fighters seizing control of a commercial ship linked to an Israeli businessman. Other missile and drone attacks in the Red Sea.
Remember when you said 3 months ago that if China really wanted to be belligerent, they would retake Taiwan right now? How interesting that you mentioned that. Right at the eve of the Taiwanese election. That's crazy. Now, I think, look, I'll say this much. like Iran behaving a bit like a paper tiger in this situation, but as far as like who stands to gain the most and is not doing anything about it is China. Not with respect to Taiwan, but in general. China is applying what I've talked about before, like the sit back, crack your knuckles and watch approach. Because ultimately that shows restraint. It's like America is doing the classic reactionary nonsense that has been doing for so long, blowing itself up. That's it.
Have targeted ships apparently unconnected to Israel. The Houthis are keen to flaunt their solidarity with Gaza. After the ship was brought to port, Yemeni social media influencers were filmed dancing on the deck. A Yemeni comedian filmed another video on board. The Houthis' position as the wildcats at the vanguard of the Iran-backed axis of resistance has played well at home and in the region.
In Yemen, it's played very strongly for them. So they were having governance issues before.
The thing I'm actually unironically upset about with America's bombing campaign, beyond the human toll and how ridiculous it is that I really hope that one F5 from like 1958 or whatever is still around, because like it would make me very sad if the one goddamn airplane that they have blew up in the airstrikes. Because it was so cute and it was so fire, and then the guy who's like 60 years old was just like flying the shit out of that. And I really hope that they didn't blow that one up. Oh, you saw the memes law? Yeah, I think it survived, but I could be wrong. Wait, 100%. I saw, yeah, the guy who, remember when they flew the thing, like the one guy, the one pilot? I covered it on the broadcast. Hasan, can we cover this? Can we compare this to the Israeli social media just real quick? Yeah, exactly. No violence. As far as like their treatment of the hostages, they gave them what is it called, cot or whatever, like their little bit of drugs for funsies. There was like a lot of videos that came out of them being like, "Listen, we do not want to kill you. We love you. We have no problem with you. It's Israel." That kind of stuff. They're treating him like guests.
Before the October 7th attack by Hamas.
They gave him the drug that makes you dap people up.
Some protests against them. All of that has been forgotten, and it's really been a rallying cry.
The Houthis, members of the Shia minority who had long waged a low-level insurgency, swept into the Yemeni capital Sana'a in 2014, following the political tumult of the Arab Spring, which ousted an unpopular government. Western-backed political leaders sought to regain control with a vicious campaign of aerial bombardment led by neighboring Saudi Arabia. Close to 400,000 people were killed directly or indirectly during the war, many of them children. A tense ceasefire has left the Houthis in control of most of the country. A weak internationally backed government and separatist forces in power elsewhere. Yemen is desperately poor, was described as the worst humanitarian crisis in the world.
Liberals are trying to claim that the Houthis are being disingenuous when they claim they're doing it for Gaza, so why the fuck are they doing it? They haven't provided any logical explanation other than they crazy, they pirates, they hate Jews. Like, that's not rational at all. Yeah, but you have to remember, if you are a neoliberal supporter of American empire, a big part of being a supporter of American empire revolves around not affording any rationality to your enemies. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole principle behind like Israel being like, oh yeah, the Hamas is ISIS, they barbarian. Like, that's all good. That's the same thing. That comes from the same place.
Before Israel's assault on Gaza. But the Houthis are no longer a ragtag army. They possess cruise and ballistic missiles. They've already fired some towards southern Israel in recent months. And they proved themselves more willing to up the ante militarily than Iranian-backed groups in Iraq or Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iranian support is key for the Houthis, but they're not beholden to them.
History tells us that when the Houthis took the capital Sana'a at the beginning of the civil war in Yemen back in September 2014, so nearly 10 years ago now, the message was from Iran for them not to do that. And they went ahead and did it anyways. They've been bombed for 7 years by the Saudi-led coalition as part of the civil war in Yemen. They've been blockaded. They've been sanctioned and repeatedly sanctioned by the US to little, if any, effect on them. So no, I don't think for them escalation is a fear that they really hold.
The Houthis show no sign of backing down. Tonight, their forces nearly mistakenly hit a tanker carrying Russian oil in the Red Sea. The airstrikes targeting them haven't been enough to deter them. How far are America and Britain
where do
willing
they get
to
those
go
flags,
in order to try and do so?
This is another question I have. Like, I know we talked about this yesterday with like PSL making like these crazy, like quickly and efficiently making what is it called, pancards in America. Pankart is what we say in Turkish. What is it called? Is placards? No, not placards. Like those signs. They make the signs, right? But these flags are massive, dude. Like, how do you find a massive Hezbollah flag? Like, how did you do that?
So, how nearly mistakenly hit a tanker
goes hard,
carrying
by the
Russian
way.
oil in the Red Sea.
Like, that's a crazy large flag, dude. You need a flag guy? I'm just saying, like, that's big as hell.
The airstrikes targeting them haven't been enough to deter them. How far are America and Britain willing to go in order to try and do so?
Iran produces a shit ton of the stuff. They have a strong industry. Yeah, I don't think you can buy a Hezbollah flag on Amazon. Right? Like I don't think that you can. I'll get you in touch with my flag guy, Timu.
Well, we're joined now by Kurt Volker, a former US ambassador to NATO. Thank you for joining us. Given the Houthis withstood years of bombing by the Saudi-led coalition, would you expect one night of airstrikes to put an end to these attacks on shipping in the Red Sea?
No, not at all. I think that this was the right thing to do, but I think we have to be prepared for a lot more. This didn't start with the US and UK launching this campaign. It started with months worth now of attacks by the Houthis on US forces, on Israel, on shipping in the region. And it is all...
You don't understand. They attacked shipping. Chat. They attacked shipping. Think about that. They caused delays in shipping. You think that's all right? I can't think of anything worse than causing delays in shipping. Like what Israel is doing in Gaza pales in comparison.
Based on Iranian support. So Iran has given them the training, the weapons, the financing, and Iran is doing this on purpose to try to go after Israel in the West. So we need to understand what's happening, and we need to be prepared to continue to go after this. It is important that we do enough that Iran starts to feel that it has a stake in ending it.
If you assume that Iran is in control, I mean, to what extent is this, in their terms, a trap, drawing in Western nations into the Middle East conflict?
Well, actually, I think it is, I wouldn't characterize it as a trap. I'd say it's a different strategy from Iran. They believe that the US and the West desperately want to avoid a wider Middle East war, something I think they're right about. And so they feel they can get away with launching these proxy attacks.
Yeah, no, totally. The US has shown its willingness to try and avoid a larger conflict over and over again.
Attacks by Hezbollah or by Hamas or by the Houthis with impunity. And so we need to show that we are not so deterred and that we are able to hit back, including possibly even Iran itself.
Thank God. Thank God America showed Iran America's willingness to blow up Middle Eastern countries. Famously, absolutely nobody in the Middle East thought that America was willing and able to blow up any of the MENA nations. Famously. Everyone was totally oblivious to this. They were all like, I mean, if there's one thing, if there is one thing I know, it is America never wants to blow up the Middle East, is what people were saying. Like, that's what they say all the time.
In order for Iran to realize that this is not a cost-free strategy.
Sorry, just be clear, you think the US should consider striking Iran over this?
I think we have to look at Iran's interest directly. It's not only the Houthis, but it is the fact that Iran is providing the weapons, the training, the support, the intelligence, everything around this. So we should be looking at Iranian oil or gas facilities. We should be looking at Iranian military forces in the region, where they are present in many, many places, in order to show that there is a cost to Iran for doing this.
Well, I mean, but if we followed that route, that would be a wider Middle East war, wouldn't it?
I think it would actually cause Iran to step back. Right now, this is...
What? Bro, he literally... What? I'm losing my mind. Big bro, what are you saying? Bro, these guys are so insane, okay? They're so nuts. He's like, no, I'm telling you, like, the greatest de-escalation is by blowing up oil facilities of Iran. This would literally be ballistic missiles raining from the sky. There would literally be ballistic missiles raining from the sky. Yeah, it's just like what a psychotic take. I think one of the worst things that could have happened is that the global hegemonic superpower is so goddamn far removed from the rest of the world and has been able to isolate itself, or has been isolated geopolitically. It's just like, you can't have this approach if you're in the middle of Europe. You know what I mean? Because even if you're in the middle of Europe, you know, like, the destabilization inevitably is going to come knocking down your door. Like, you're going to have refugees to deal with, things of that nature, right? Like, America can just act like it's totally fine to do all of this nutty shit because they just don't have any, you just don't have any proximity to the conflict at all. It's crazy. Question mark, if USA is the middle of Europe, USA would have taken over the entirety of the Middle East just like we're doing it from afar. I think America's actions in Latin America in comparison to the Middle East should show you what I mean by that. No, you say South America. Yeah, great example. Exactly. Look at the way it deals with South America versus the way it deals with the Middle East. Last time we got close to dealing with some country that was our immediate neighbor was, I guess, Cuba. in the same way that we deal with Middle Eastern countries. We are, I think, way looser in our indiscriminate bombing campaigns of Middle Eastern nations than Latin American countries. The Great Sioux Nation has some issues with that, Lamau. Okay, well, that's not what I'm talking about. Obviously. Yeah, okay, Grenada. Great example. A country with a population size of like 8. There you go. Like, come on, dude. Panama, another one. Like, our actions that are, like, you cannot compare Grenada or Panama to what happens on a week. Like, what you're describing is literally a weekend in a weekend in Iraq. Okay? Like, not even. Is it maybe because Latin America isn't as tribal, per se, as the Arabs are? To be honest, I don't know much about Latin American unity with things like Bolsonaro and Argentina. Wait, what do you mean tribal? No, dog, is proximity. You think Arabs are tribal? What the fuck are you talking about? Bro, Arabs haven't been tribal since Islam, okay? Since the invention of Islam. That chatter is not aware of how racist he sounds, okay? Calm down, everybody. It's just Orientalism. He does not know. That's it. That's it. That's it. And the answer to that is not to point to, like, you know, Brazilian favelas like some other chatter was saying, to be like, look, they're tribal too. Like, no.
Escalating because we are not pushing back. And so Iran feels it can continue these attacks and others with relative impunity.
It's an election year in the United States. To what extent does this complicate matters, given Donald Trump put the Houthis, or classified them as terrorists, effectively, and Joe Biden undid that because of the effect it was having on the civilian population in Yemen, who were literally starving to death?
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that the Biden administration is exercising considerable restraint in order to avoid escalation.
What?
While Republicans are calling for a return to a policy of maximum pressure on Iran and willing to support attacks such as this, these airstrikes such as this, that the Biden administration has done. So I actually think politically there's a lot of running room for the Biden administration to continue this and to keep going. And they are the ones that are showing more caution and trying to avoid escalation.
Do you think it's been a strategic error to allow the Houthis to stay in place? I mean, the war had gone on for years, and it's...
Yeah, okay, bro. Liberal guy talks about striking Iran, says it's de-escalation if you do strike Iran eventually. Says Biden has actually demonstrated restraint in Israel, and is using the term restraint while talking about bombing Yemen. Is so cooked. I don't know what to say. I mean, he's saying everything.
It effectively come to an end during 2023, or a sort of a stalemate, leaving the Houthis in position.
Is this guy's perspective actually common? His perspective is probably the most restrained perspective as it pertains to America's State Department policy. The worst aspect of that is the John Boltons of the world, who literally will tell you, like, if we don't nuke Iran tomorrow, I'm going to kill myself. Like, the John Boltons of the world are even worse than this guy.
Yeah, I don't know that we would be in a position to determine whether the Houthis stay in place or not, but we can set the conditions for regional security. And these sorts of attacks against our forces, against international shipping, are unacceptable. And they were launched after Israel, the Hamas attacks against Israel, and then Israel's response to that. And then they were allowed to continue. And so that is the cost.
John Manila, thank you for the 5. Get the subs.
Of inaction at the time to try to prevent these sorts of outbreaks of violence.
It's so crazy how often you have to logically defend / explain empathy these days. Yeah. Well, it's because all of the logic seekers have completely taken on the horse blinders position. They are so chauvinistic. So many supposedly like intellectuals are trying to intellectually defend America's endless war and bloodshed and also continuation of Israel's genocide. So in that situation, I have to do everything I can to appeal to the empathetic nature that people have that remains.
That it can continue this strategy because no one is pushing back on Iran directly.
Kurt Volker, thank you very much.
Well, a short time ago, I spoke to Hussein al-Bukaiti, who's a pro-Houthi commentator based in the Yemeni capital, Sana'a. I began by asking whether the strikes would have any impact on the Houthis.
I don't think they have caused any significant damage to Yemeni army capability, because we remember in the last 9 years, Saudi has conducted tens of thousands of airstrike. But what was the result? The Yemeni army here in Sana'a has become much stronger, and they have actually defeated Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates.
So what you're saying, just to be clear, is that there will be a military response from the Houthi forces against the Americans and the Brits in the Red Sea?
Yes, of course, because the leader of Ansarullah, as they called the Houthi, he have warned yesterday, before the attack, if United States will take any step to target Yemen, there will be a huge and a big attack against their battleship or against any area that was used to launch those attacks.
Ships that have been targeted by the Houthis, not one of them was heading for an Israeli port, not one. So it was the Houthis who were targeting innocent, unarmed international ships, tankers, container ships.
If the target were all international ships, non-Israeli, why the Egypt and as well the Suez Canal have announced that the Suez Canal was not affected? This means only a handful of ships, and they refuse to answer Yemeni army if they were not actually linked to Israel or they were not hidden to any port in Israel. They will respond.
Like if America did a blockade, they would do the exact same thing. That's it. Actually, no, I take it back. If America were to do a blockade, they would blow up the ship, like actually kill everyone on it. He's like, yeah, it's our sea line. I ask you where you're headed. Okay, I ask you where you're headed. You don't tell me. I'm going to come and take it over. They didn't send their best guy, though, to be fair. What, this guy? I think this guy's great. I don't have an issue with what he's saying.
And they will not, or they can actually turn around and not use the Red Sea.
To what extent are the Houthis...
By the way, America doesn't even do it for, like, an honorable political purpose. They just do it because they can. How many Iranian tankers have America overtaken? How many Venezuelan tankers have America overtaken? They do it because they can. They do it direct. They do the when America does the piracy, it's like chill and totally fine and awesome and hell yeah, baby. When the Houthis do it, it's like, whoa, chill, dog. What do you mean? Bros, this is the one thing I disagree with you, man. If Biden had done that was a good thing, you give no credit to the guy. Biden did remove the terrorist label, man. Wait, what? What do you mean? Oh, you're talking about the Houthis? The U.S. gave them many warnings. Come on, Haas. 27 is a lot, man. Brother, I don't think you understand. He is right, by the way. The terrorist designation being taken out. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. About the terrorism designation. But as far as like what the Houthis are doing, what what the Houthis are doing is what I expect America to do. I want America to do that. You know what I mean? I want the United States of America to implement some level of boycotts, a blockade, if you will, some sanctions on the state of Israel if it continues its occupation, if it continues its ethnic cleansing campaign. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, man, these other guys are doing it, and I hate it when they're doing it. Also, they took away the terrorism designation and then, bombed them. So what are we talking about?
Acting of their own accord, or are they being encouraged by Tehran, by Iran, to do this?
No, I mean, when they take this decision, they are not encouraged by anyway, because I don't think that someone will actually put his country at risk of a war with the United Kingdom and United States to do Iran a favor. Of course, Yemen and Iran and Lebanon and Syria and Iraq, they have a coalition which called the Axis of Resistance. I mean, it's the same if someone has given Israel, United Kingdom and US the right to fully.
Like, here, I'll give you another example. Right now in Ukraine, at the Polish-Ukrainian border, there's a strike happening. Okay? At the Polish-Ukrainian border, there's a literal strike happening because the Polish truck drivers are frustrated that Ukrainian truck drivers that are Ukrainian truck drivers that now do not need additional, do not have additional restrictions to ship inside of Europe. It's a right-wing movement, though. I know. Listen to me. Listen. I don't care about like their political opinions. I'm simply drawing an analog for you to help you understand. Polish truck drivers are doing a strike. They're not letting Ukrainian truck drivers enter in or out of the EU, right? And I think that they solved it already. But like when they were doing it, they were refusing to allow Ukrainian truck drivers to come in. They were frustrated because they were saying that it's like impacting their own commerce, and that was delaying shipping in a situation where like Ukraine desperately needs aid, right? Do we bomb Poland? That's not what we did, right? I'm just saying, like, you don't do that. That's not how you deal with shit. But when it's... You keep saying, I don't care about their political opinions, when I think the idea you want to convey is, I know their political opinion is bad, but it's currently irrelevant. I mean, but also I genuinely don't care. I don't care about Hamas's own personal political motivations either. I don't. They have nothing. People have nothing. And I also am honest about it in the way that like liberals don't want to be honest about their lack of interest in the real politics of the people on the ground. If they did, they would have never forgiven Hillary Clinton for what America did to Libya. Like people talk about open air slave markets and whatever, and there is no evidence for this happening in Yemen other than like one Saudi newspaper that said that like there's slavery going on. And I'm sure there is, like obviously economic coercion. This is a very poor country, right? But like we have literally done this. We have destroyed entire nations and reinstituted slavery. The idea that like we have to bomb Yemen because like they have slavery happening in Yemen is so stupid. Not real. Nobody cares. That's why liberals are perfectly in line, in lockstep with... What's up? Can I unscrew that? I think so. Let me see. Wait, this? Bro, I have like 8 of these, by the way, if you want. Like, we can just like... I can just give you another one. Just take that third mic over there. Yeah. Put it out. You don't have to put it back on. It's just... There you go.
supporting Israel.
But do the Houthis want to spread this conflict to the rest of the Middle East? Because it certainly put them on the map. I mean, many people around the world didn't have a clue who the Houthis were until now.
Yemen, when it was under attack and blockade for 9 years, and 18,000 Yemeni civilians, most of them women and children, were killed. About 500 Yemeni have died because of preventable diseases. According to UNICEF, one child died every 10 minutes, or the international community has kept a blind eye. That's why Yemen, when they have decided.
So since we're rightfully talking about genocides, why don't we talk about the numerous ethnic cleansings Turkey committed and still commits? It's so funny. I did earlier today, as a matter of fact, as a direct analog, a direct parallel to what I was talking about with Israel. Where is it? Where is it? Where was the other thing? Someone brought up a good Chomsky point, and I'm trying to find it. Oh, brings it back to the classic Chomsky clip of every liberal in this country loves to defend bombing these other nations, but cannot say countries like Cuba, Nicaragua, and any other country we destroyed have the right to bomb us. Yeah, exactly. But isn't the Houthis' mission bigger than this one blockade? I mean, isn't their slogan "Death to America, the Jews, and Israel"? And they're backed by Iran. I'm generally not pro-American intervention, but is this intervention really the worst thing possible? Yes. Yes. Your chat is so hostile. Wait, yeah, they're hostile to that one chatter who came in, not this chatter, but that one chatter that came in and literally was, you know, trying to be like, let's talk about the Turkish genocides that I'm willing to bet you're avoiding talking about. You know what I mean? The only thing we avoid is the top of the hour ad break out here, which comes at the top of the hour. Oh, they mean hostile to me? Yeah. No, if you're against American intervention, old dirty bitch, that's the username, don't get mad at me, then ask yourself why you're against it. Okay? What are the basics? Go back to the fundamentals. If you are truly against it, then you can recognize, you know, why you're against it and then apply why you're against it into this situation. American intervention, especially bombing, has never yielded positive results for the people that we're bombing. There's no way to blow up a country and have them be better off as a consequence of that. Does that make sense? I don't know a lot about the Kurds in Turkey, but I can tell these Westerners who keep using Kurds like a toy to throw any criticism you make about the USA that they don't actually give a fuck about the genocide. Yes, 100%. I literally talked about Kurds earlier. There was a Turkish chatter in here that was very mad. He's literally saying it because you're Turkish. There's no other relevance law. Exactly. It's so funny. Like, I was earlier making parallels to, like, the Kurdish mistreatment by America and the allowance that America gives to Turkey and, like, blowing them up. And it's pretty funny that, like, the chatter came in here and was like, let's talk about the genocides. It's like, you don't care. You don't care about that at all. And you don't even care about my position either. You just came in here to say that because you're racist. Anyway. Oh my God, is that going to be the new thing? New thing, my friend, that has been the old thing. People have been saying that I deny the Armenian genocide literally in perpetuity. I never have, and they still say it anyway. Your haters are the literal worst people? Yes. If there's one thing that unites a lot of people, in their hatred of me, it's that they're just genuinely relentless scumbags usually. They're either misguided and have been, like, blinded by real genuine scumbags into thinking blindly that I'm, like, a bad person, or they're straight up the slimiest, greasiest, worst motherfucker you've ever met in your entire life. like straight up, just like fucking Nazis, people that like Nazis and align with them, just the worst opportunistic scumbags you ever seen. And even if they're not personally Nazis themselves, they will, you know, they don't have a problem with the Nazis, but more so have a problem with not being able to, you know, claw enough clout for themselves.
To do this action is because they don't want what happening to Gaza is to be repeated as what happened to Yemen, and they want to be clear that Yemen will stand with Palestine, and they will not stop their attack unless the Palestinian is given the right to leave.
Finally, is it possible for the Americans, together with their allies, to militarily neutralize the Houthi threat in the Red Sea?
Yemeni here and Yemeni forces have sent a clear warning to all countries around Yemen who have bases of Britain and United States. If those countries will allow United States to use their bases, this means Yemeni will declare war. And they said, one of the officials have said that every single oil field and gas field in those countries, every single port and airport will be set on fire, and anything linked to those countries will become under target. Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, they actually know what the capability of Yemeni army. That's why I think this latest attack by United States and UK, just they want to save, as we say, their strength.
Hussein al-Bukaiti, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Well, in Washington, President Biden said he would not hesitate.
Nah, dude, I'm telling you, I've never met a group of motherfuckers as crazy as the Yemeni people. I've never seen consistently the nuttiest motherfuckers of all time. No, they're literally like, I mean, it is suicidal, like always. There is a genuinely very different energy. It's crazy, bro. I mean, they got fucking bombed. Like, they got bombed yesterday. And then you have, I mean, you saw the protests. Like, they were going crazy. They got bombed yesterday, and they were like, hell yeah, dude. Come on, give us more. We love it. It's pretty wild. Yemen's "We Do Not Care" chant from today is a refrain of a popular folkloric war song mocking all of Yemen's enemies. Some have requested it. Here's the entire thing with English subtitles.
العسكرية يوم سيطرنا على الخوبة بآلي ما نبالي بالهمر والمدفعية ما نبالي وجعلوها حرب كبرى عالمية.
Okay, the other thing that they I mean, things that I've learned about Yemen that I did not know prior to this is things that What? You are right. I was really immature of me. I had a bad day and didn't think before I wrote. Didn't want to sound hostile, but I did apologize. I am mad that countries are playing politics on people's backs in misery. I misworded my statement really bad. I sincerely apologize about that. All right, it's all good, brother. The thing I was going to say is that, like, you know, a couple things I did not know about Yemen and the population is that, one, it don't matter if they have like sticks or stones, that they will use it. If they make a promise, they're going to fulfill it. And the other thing is, they love like musical theater. They love musical theater. It's kind of crazy. They do so much musical theater surrounding their like disses. It's crazy.
دعمنا الدود في ساعة كلالي ومساكنا الحد مسكح حيدرية ما نبالي بالصواريخ الثقالي والقنابل ذي سموها ذكية ما نبالي ما نبالي ما نبالي وجعلوها حرب كبرى على.
These dudes are hungrier for war than the US, and you're like, but they're the good guys? Wait, what? Hungrier for war than the US? Brother, who are they warring with? I don't know if you know this, but this song is about them being fucking genocided by the American proxies of Saudi Arabia. Some of you guys literally see brown dudes with guns and go, these guys sure like war a lot. They're saying, go ahead, kill us as hard as you want to kill us in the midst of their ongoing genocide, and saying like, we'll still recover, we'll still survive, we'll bring it to the heart. Dude is too horny to be racist to read lyrics. Yeah, they're saying like, we got nothing to lose. Go ahead, blow us up. I like that you kind of could grasp what literally one of the poorest countries on the planet is saying, their people are saying here. And yet you don't think about like who's doing the bombing. Like, who are they egging on? Go ahead, bomb us further. Like, man, it sure is messed up that they're begging America to continue bombing them and Saudi Arabia to continue bombing them. I mean, who's at fault here then? I guess not Saudi Arabia. Like, what do you want them to do? Be crying on their hands and knees?
والله ان العيش ذا يحرم عليا لم تصيبه دفها رؤوس الجبال بالاسد حربنا كانت ظبيه ما يجربها سوى الناس الذلالي الف طياره تواجه مدفعيه ما نبالي وجعلوها حرب كبرى عالميه.
They also love dancing on the American and Israeli flag, too. That's another thing. War is not a camel race or a match between Al Nasser and Al Qadisiyah. We are people of war and the people of battle. We are the ones firmly rooted atop the high mountain. Oh, by the way, one thing I guarantee you, you'll see in like the next couple of months or so, they'll probably change their banner too to no longer incorporate "Curse the Jews" in it. Because one thing, yesterday's guerrillas are always today's governance, okay? This is like another common principle. Like, once they take the balaclavas off, once they take the keffiyeh off, well, not keffiyeh they wear permanently usually, but they will try to, in an effort to normalize relations, they will do PR. Just like Hamas did in 2017, as we've talked about before. Like, they will change their charters and stuff like that. So 100%, I'm telling you, they will do some DEI, some woke DEI shit and take out the like curse the Jew stuff, because someone's going to be like, dog, that shit's not going to fly. You know what I mean? That looks anti-Semitic. You're not going to get a lot of support from the West. Watch out to normalize relations where people still bomb them? No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking eventually when the rubble clears.
والله ان العيش ذا يحرم على الهوية في سبيل الله ذقنا المر حالي مرحبا بالموت حيا بالمنية ماني بالي واجعلوها حرب كبرى عالمية حن قلبي للجرم والأواني والله إن العيش لا يحرم عليا وطمسنا حلم سلمان الخيالي
Every time I see one of these music videos, like, look, I know they don't got the best ideas, okay? But every time I see one of these music videos, now I understand why Scahill said the Yemeni people are some of his favorite people on the planet. I mean, and he's been there. So, been there quite a bit.
والإمارة الدنية تحمي الأمة صناديد الرجالي ليش تحمي هالجيوش الأجنبية
أجنبي
ماني بالي واجعلوها حرب كبرى عالمية حن قلبي للجرم والأواني والله إن العيش لا يحرم عليا
Yeah. New chopper came with the beam. There are reports of explosions in Sana'a right now. There's no confirmation as of videos or officials saying it. Okay. Maya Dean English says, correspondent, initial information indicates that airstrikes targeted the Sana'a airport and its surroundings. Thank you so much for making this happen. Accept the compliment, coward. Oh, Ben Shapiro has made it. That's nice. Congratulations to everybody involved. More honest promotional material than U.S. Army ads? Yeah. Do you not remember how you made fun of a lady siding with ISIS to prove Israel is right? By doing this, it's the same thing, but you're making excuses with the same side as that lady? Wait, the same... No. I don't think you understand. Maybe this comes from, like, racism or something, but, like, when I talk about ISIS, like, my hatred of ISIS isn't because they're, like, ooh, scary Muslim guys, okay? My hatred of ISIS stems from what they do. Okay, like what their goals are, what they do, who they're funded by. Like, that is where my anger for ISIS comes from. Okay, what their aspirations are. So when you try to make that same comparison to the Houthis, you fail to understand that there are very different aspirations at play. Like you have this, it's very odd that you have this very weird perspective on the matter where you look at it and it's like brown guy engaging in militancy. Okay, they must all be the same. Yeah, Ansar Allah is a nationalist resistance group. ISIS is a genocidal expansionist Salafi jihadist group, which, by the way, Ansar Allah in many ways, maybe not to the same degree, but like is no different than any other nationalist resistance group. Like very different goals there. I don't think that they're like overtaking Oman or overtaking parts of Saudi Arabia in an effort to colonize different aspects of Saudi Arabia or some shit. Can you explain why most of the Arab region dislikes Yemen? As an Egyptian, I can only understand a few words from this song. Can you explain why most of the Arab region dislikes Yemen? What do these guys do regularly? But right now they are on your side. It has nothing to do with race. Wait, what? I mean, they fought ISIS and Al-Qaeda, so they did that. Which I feel like you have a problem with. I do feel like you take issue with that. I mean, they resisted genocide. That was another thing.
To order further military.
The reason why Arabs don't like not the Yemeni people, but like Houthis specifically, is because they're Shia, and you know Sunnis don't like Shia people in this region.
Reaction if the Houthis continue to attack vessels in the Red Sea, as other countries warned against the risk of widening the conflict. Russia.
Monkey D. Houthi fought Al Qaeda. Okay, brother, I'm not talking about everyone. He asked me a broad question, and I gave him a broad answer. And Hamas are Sunni as well. And so is Algeria, but they're aligned alongside Iran, and so is Hamas. Hamas is being funded by Iran, and yet they are Sunni as well. Is there a major difference between the Shia and the rest? Not really, but if you ask them, they do. If you ask them, there's a big difference, but it's like, I think it stems from like who takes the lineage of the prophet. It's like who, which second cousin or whatever the fuck is like directly lined up with the prophet's bloodline or some shit. I mean, that's where the major distinction comes from. And then beyond that, I would say it's like whether or not you can have a caliphate alongside whatever kind of governance you have, versus you directly can only be governed by the religious leadership. Are you Sunni or Shia? I'm Sunni. Please stop. You are so wrong. Shut up. You didn't know circumcision was a part of Islam. I'm going to always say that. Every time you come in here, I'm going to cook you on the fact that you didn't know what circumcision was. More strikes on Yemen, says a U.S. official, more to follow. All right, let's finish this up.
Requested an emergency UN Security Council meeting to discuss the strikes. Turkey accused the US and Britain of trying to turn the Red Sea into a sea of blood. Our Washington correspondent, Siobhan Kennedy, is at the White House. Siobhan.
Well, the White House here says it is aware that it has ruffled feathers in the Middle East, particularly in Saudi Arabia, as it...
I don't have a child. Wait, what? So? That has nothing to... Wait, what do you mean? Wait, is this where I find out that Sufi Masoodi is a woman? Because I thought you were a dude this whole time. That's crazy. I literally thought I was duking it out with a Muslim dude.
Nurses that fragile peace in Yemen, but it says that it had no choice, that it has been warning the Houthis for the past 3 months to cease, to stop these attacks in the Red Sea, and that they simply have not listened. And then Tuesday happened, which seemingly was the straw that broke the camel's back for President Biden. A blatant attack, the White House says, on a US commercial ship and a Navy vessel in the Red Sea, after which the White House says it had no choice but to act. But they still insist that they are just as worried as everybody else about this becoming a wider conflict, which is why they say, precisely why they took the action that they took with the UK last night. Well, earlier I caught up with the National Security Council spokesperson here at the White House, John Kirby.
Absolutely
and I started by asking him
eviscerating
precisely that, the obvious.
Yemeni
would these
positions.
strikes last night inevitably lead
Many are saying fuck around and find out, yeah.
to an escalation in the conflict?
Don't you dare come after our trading routes over the Red Sea, yeah. It's called piracy and it's not allowed.
In fact, targets that we hit were deliberately designed to degrade and disrupt the Houthi capability to continue these reckless attacks in the Red Sea. So we're going to do the assessment here today. And
God, I fucking hate this piece of shit so much, dude. Oh my God.
in coming hours, we'll have a better sense of exactly what the impact of these strikes were. But everything that they were designed to do was to take the tensions down.
But the Houthis have said that they will retaliate.
The Houthis have a choice to make. They had choices to make over the previous month or so, chose to escalate. Now they have another choice to make, and they need to make the right one.
But if they do choose to escalate, which is what they're saying that they will do, retaliate, what does America do then? Where does this go? Surely the conflict will then potentially spiral out of control. And we have that situation that Joe Biden sought desperately not to have.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see what the reaction is. I've heard what they've said. We'll watch very, very closely. And if we have to take further action, we will.
Is there a risk that America loses friends in the region at precisely the wrong time?
We certainly understand that countries in the region are concerned about these strikes last night. Heck, we're concerned about making sure that things don't escalate. So we hit radar sites so they couldn't guide those missiles. We hit launcher sites so they couldn't launch those missiles. We hit storage sites so they couldn't keep those missiles. I mean, that's
so
what
you can't rule out that you haven't hit civilians.
I don't have a full damage assessment right now. We've seen some reports that there may have been some casualties. I would tell you that each of these targets were military targets.
The Houthis say they're doing this for the Palestinians, for what's happening in
Gaza.
Gaza.
That's not true. That's just not true.
But is it not the case that had the US been firmer, tougher with Israel about limiting civilian casualties, that we wouldn't be where we are today?
The argument, I'm just going to have to challenge the premise of the question. It's not like we haven't been talking to the Israelis since the very early ongoing of this war.
Talking, but being tougher.
We have been very consistent about the need for them to reduce civilian casualties and to be more precise, to be more careful, to be more deliberate. Now they're talking about transitioning to a new phase of warfare that's lower intensity at our urging and at our encouragement.
23,000 deaths later.
Too many people have been killed and wounded in this conflict. And we know many thousands in Gaza have been affected by that. Many more thousands wounded, hundreds of thousands displaced. We all want this war to end, but let's not forget how it started, by wanton slaughter of innocent Israeli civilians and the hostage taking of a couple of hundred or more of their family members. That's what started this war. Israel has every right to defend itself.
Well, the price of oil initially jumped by over 3.5%, and so did gold, as the markets fear the inflationary impact of a wider war. Here, the government said that the need to protect international trade was a key justification for the attacks. So how could the confrontation affect the British economy? Our economics reporter Neil MacDonald is here. What's the big risk then for us?
Well, look, the UK imports £64 billion a year of stuff from China.
I know they're bombing Yemen's capital again right now as we speak.
China, plenty more from other Asian economies, of course. And most of that is coming on containers and it's coming through the Red Sea.
I love the people that were yesterday coming in to be like, I love the people that were coming in here yesterday to be like, why aren't the people of Yemen like spending all their money recovering themselves and instead like, fighting, instead of like attacking ships, attacking commerce in the region. And it's like people have no way of ever thinking about anyone but themselves personally. That's it. So they can't comprehend a world in which like they consider what is going on in Gaza to be identical to what happened to Yemen.
And the problem is that there has been a spectacular drop-off in the number of containers making that journey through to Europe. So back in November, there were about 500,000 containers a day, and now that has dropped down to about 200,000. So that is a spectacular shift. Yeah. And it matters a lot to us, to Germany, to China, to every big trading nation. And I can show you what this is doing to the cost of sending a container from Shanghai to Europe. In one moment, you'll see that back in November, it was about $750 per container, and it's now quadrupled to over 3,000.
We had some good news just in the last few weeks about inflation. Is this bad news?
Well, I think the first effect we'll probably see is around shortages. I mean, companies like Next are talking about possibly some products starting to disappear from shelves in the next couple of weeks. In Germany, Tesla is pausing its production this month, actually, because it's finding it hard to get the components through.
Shia believe the blood of the prophet should rule the ummah, Sunni don't. Bitch, I said the same thing. I just said Shia believed that a direct descendant of the Prophet should be the ruler, whereas the Sunni are fine with a caliphate. That's what I said. You're repeating what I said while simultaneously yelling at me. Also, now I'm a man, I'm 20 years old, I don't know everything. Okay, you're a man. You have a penis. Okay, you should have known about circumcision. Don't come at me with your knowledge over Islam. When as a man, you should have a circumcised penis then. Okay, did you not look down at your penis when talking about circumcision? You didn't know that. Also, you're 20 years old. I don't want to dunk on you that much. Okay, I'm messing with you. Okay, I'm joking, and chat shouldn't yell at him either. Okay, he's a little baby. He's 20 years old. To be fair, my parents never told me what circumcised stuff was at all. I only learned how to watch and everything late to middle school. Please don't make another hater. You know what? You're not wrong. I feel like I'm too harsh on Sufi Masoodi. I enjoy his takes in the chat. I also think it's funny when he constantly tells me how little I know about Islam.
The longer term.
You got to look at Hinkle's latest tweet. Absolutely not.
Danger, though, is, of course, if these companies decide they've got to try and get back some of these higher costs.
Bro, you're changing my light source too. No, it's all good. I got scared. I was like, what the fuck? Wait, are you changing yours too? Okay, well, yeah, keep it. Maybe lighten it up a little bit more. All right, it's good now. We have the same light, so they're using the same controls.
Costs by putting up their prices, and then, of course, inflation takes hold. But one piece of optimism possibly on that, if we take our graph and zoom it all the way back to the year 2000, you can see that actually, after COVID and the lockdowns, container prices were even higher than they are now. There are some economists who say, yeah, it's bad right now, but at least we're not back to the sort of levels that triggered the huge wave of inflation that we've all just come through, and perhaps we were hoping we'd finally got through.
A glimmer of optimism. Neil, thanks very much.
The Houthis are causing inflation in the UK, which is why we should probably not listen to what they have to say about how to stop the blockade in the Red Sea, and instead continue going as hard as we did. We should be going as hard as we have been in our defense of Israel, and also go extra hard in pulling Israel on Yemen. Pull a Gaza on Yemen. Georgia wrote with a modest proposal on Yemen. I have what some may consider a dumb idea, but here it is. Stop the bombing of Gaza, then the attacks on commercial shipping will end. Why not try that approach? That's disgusting. That's a disgusting thing to say. I'm so mad about this.